So you talk about life being an emotional roller coaster, which is accurate, isn't it, friends?
So I'm feeling rubbish right now, I'm going to stop doing this task and move away. You don't have the opportunity to do that. So we burn out because it's a real physical thing. Our body just becomes exhausted.
We say the same thing for our children. They cannot do lesson after lesson. We're going to go English, maths, and now we're going to the Stone Age, and they can't do it. It's not possible. It got really weird, and when it was lunchtime, I was like, I'm shutting that door. And I would put my headphones in, and I'd just be like, no.
But any ways you can increase the language emotions, one of the most powerful things to help with emotions is being able to label them really well and label them in detail.
So we are starting with one of our sponsors for the event, which is the amazing Now Press Play. Like, I have spoken about them so many times. Yes, Verity, you get it. You get it. Has anyone used Now Press Play yet? There she is. Well, you're about to. It's going to be great. Honestly, like I was saying to Oscar, I don't really partner with many people. Like, they have to be completely aligned with myself, and it has to be something I've trialed so many times with loads of different children. And I love Now Press Play so much. So Oscar's going to tell us a little bit about it. Say hey, Oscar.
Hey, Oscar.
Hey.
Hey, everyone. So my name's Oscar. I'm the co-founder and now director of product of Now Press Play. And Now Press Play create immersive audio adventures that allow children to live their learning, so to go there, to do it, and perhaps most importantly, to feel it emotionally. And what we're going to do today, if it's okay, is just dive straight in and try it out. So you've all got some headphones, so we're not going to turn them on yet. I'm going to give you some background first. We're going to do, you are a Year 4 class, and we're studying the Stone Age in history, let's say, and you are going to be immersed about halfway through this 25-minute long story. I don't think I need to explain what's happened so far. I think you'll pick it up. Yeah, just to say in advance that this is one of about 100 different experiences we have across from EYFS, Key Stage 1, and Key Stage 2. We're in about 500 schools who subscribe to us on a yearly basis. And each school gets 35 of these, a class set.
For more information on Now Press Play, catch Season 4, Episode 3.
So you talk about life being an emotional roller coaster, which is accurate, isn't it, friends? It's very accurate. But you talk specifically about, and you have a gorgeous visual for this. Did you get it?
I think I did label it.
It's like a roller coaster, but then you have pit stops on the way.
So if you can see that, it's a little roller. So the roller coaster goes throughout the book.
Yeah.
And then there's little stops that we have on the way.
So can you explain why the pit stops are so essential in terms of for us to function well in our body budget?
Sure. So, you know, we're all busy people. So I do neuropsychological tests or assessments on people. And when I see somebody who's a teacher, I always recognise they have a very, very demanding job. So when you're thinking about when somebody's going back to work after a brain injury or whatever they've experienced, you think, how demanding is their job? And we know teaching is an incredibly demanding job because you have to be switched on all the time. You have multiple things going on in the room. You have to divide your attention between multiple things. You have to be constantly forward planning. You're using the executive of your brain constantly to think what's next, or how do I respond in this moment to this child? So teaching is an incredibly demanding job. You also don't have the opportunity when you're feeling rubbish most of the time to take a step back, like many office-based jobs do. So I'm feeling rubbish right now, I'm going to stop doing this task and move away. You don't have the opportunity to do that. You are in there, you have to keep on going regardless of what your body budget is telling you a lot of the time. So my dad was a head teacher. I'm from a family of teachers, so I know how demanding teaching is. So it's an incredibly demanding job. Now, what that's doing is keeping your body upregulated. We effectively have, it's quite a simplification, but we have two systems to help us manage our body and keep it in balance. We have the sympathetic nervous system, which I often say isn't very sympathetic because it keeps our body responding to demand. So when you're in that constant high demand state, you're responding in the moment. Even if you're not feeling stressed, you're in this kind of high state. You've got this adrenaline and cortisol running through your body, keeping you alert because you need to stay alert to deal with everything that's happening in the room. It's really important. Now, that's helpful because it keeps you going. So I've got that system running right now, it's keeping me going. But if I keep it going for too long, if I stay on that high in the emotional roller coaster, effectively, I guess the wheels come off the track because that system is not supposed to keep on going and that high alert state all the time. Effectively, it does start to, I mean, metaphorically and physically kind of break down body systems. It starts to make your brain function less. It starts to make your body systems function less because this is a physical state that we're in, keeping on going with our sympathetic nervous system firing. And I guess long term, the impact of that is burnout. So we burn out because it's a real physical thing. Our body just becomes exhausted. So to keep us on the roller coaster and keep those kind of wheels on the track, we need to have these pit stops. And the pit stops, if you think from a kind of physiological way, are getting the other system going, the parasympathetic nervous system. So that's your rest and digest system, which we tend to, as busy professionals, and I'm as guilty as this as anybody else, keep on going till we get to the end of our to-do list and disregard things which engage our rest and digest system. So taking breaks, that's a real problem in the NHS. We're terrible at taking breaks. I don't know, teachers, are they better at taking breaks?
We're not the best, are we, guys?
No, okay. So taking a break, because it actually feels less stressful to keep on going with our to-do list and get to the end of our to-do list, which we'll never get to the end of, by the way. But that feels less stressful than taking a break. It seems like that's just a waste of time.
Yeah.
But it's not, because we're actually engaged in our rest and digest system, our parasympathetic nervous system, and meaning that we're more likely to keep on going on those tracks better, longer term. The brain system you're using a lot, the executive system, which you're constantly on task, on demand, is a hugely energy draining part of the brain. So giving yourself that break, and a proper break, because sometimes scrolling social media can be a fantastic break, sometimes it's a terrible break because it makes us feel more stressed, but taking those breaks, that downtime, that rest, time off where you're not thinking about things, where you're not switched on all the time is incredibly important physically, mentally, to keep you on the tracks and keep you going.
That is so glorious to hear. I love it when people say that. Like, wave a flag if you've ever been doing a task, like marking books or planning, and you're like, no, I just need to finish it, and you just don't finish. It goes on for so long. Like, I always remember marking books, like, and I'm like, do you know what? I need to earn my home time. Yes. and I will mark all of these books, and then I will reward myself by going home. Yes. And I just don't get home.
Real NHS thing as well.
Oh, and it's just awful, but it's the same for our children. We say the same thing for our children. They cannot do lesson after lesson. We're going to go English, maths, and now we're going to the Stone Age, and they can't do it. It's not possible. And that's why we talk so much in TGMC about having sensory rest, about having transition buffers. Yeah. Having those pit stops, because that's what's going to help us stay on track, isn't it?
So I'm going to tell you something about my 14-year-old son, which I was really proud of this week. So he has music lessons at school. Now, he had an activity at break time, and then his music lesson was put to lunchtime. He said, Mum, I really can't do that because, that's my break. And I was like, no, you can't. Fantastic. So I phoned the school, and they were absolutely fine about it because that was the only break he had. But I was so proud of him because I would not have done that at that age. No. We've got this kind of belief that breaks are something luxurious, something that we can override, something that we earn. You talked about earning it, something we need to deserve. But actually, they're just critical for functioning. They're critical. Absolutely. I sometimes joke the psychologist prescribes a holiday because we need them. We need those time off. Your holiday is absolutely essential for physical recovery.
I mean, wave your flag if you've ever worked through your lunch. Anyone? Yeah. The last time I was full-time teaching, I got really weird. And when it was lunchtime, I was like, I'm shutting that door. And I would put my headphones in and I'd just be like, no, because I had to decompress in lunchtime.
And I think it's also looking out for, is what you're doing in lunchtime actually resting? For some people, going to having that chat in the break room is really beneficial. It also depends who else is in the break room sometimes and what they're talking about. So, I worked in a place where all they talked about in break time was, people untangling their problems because there wasn't good enough supervision in place. That to me was incredibly stressful. So I had to think about how I used my lunch times. I started going for walks. So, is it an actual break? Even though it looks like a break, is it an actual break for you? Remembering that kind of co-regulation, But the opposite, co-stressing, if we think about it that way, is what you're actually doing, is actually calming you down and giving you a break.
Yeah, because that's nothing worse than that, is it? If you've had a horrible lunch break, then you have to go straight back into it, and you've got all of that in your head.
I used to open the door and say, are they talking about neighbours? No, they're talking about work. Okay, off I go.
Not for me. What would you say to school leaders who say they don't have time to teach emotions?
Now, I had a good think about this because I loved that question. So some of the work I do now is in workplaces. And I've done that since the pandemic. So I moved in during the pandemic to work in leading the staff wellbeing service in the NHS. And I've continued to do work like that since. I still do individual work and different stuff as well. But it was looking at, as a workplace, how do we support emotions? Now, that's what I was thinking about when I answered this question. Because I used to note down when I was in the role things people would say to me about emotions and well-being in the workplace. It's the nice to have, it's the soft and fluffy stuff. It's, do we really need to think about this in work? And I think we can apply all that to the school. And I would say, my response always to that was, emotions are integral to everything we do. So emotions are integral to us functioning in our workplace. Emotions are integral to how we are to colleagues. Emotions are integral to the success of a workplace. And we can actually cost that in workplaces. And we know that if you input and look at emotions in a workplace, for every £1 you invest, you save at least £10 or more. So we know that looking at even a monetary cost, and that's not the most important thing, it's really important. So the emotions are integral to everything we do in the workplace. And emotions are in the workplace anyway, because you've got your brains in the workplace. So the cost of not attending to emotions is far more than the cost of attending to emotions. And it doesn't need to be an add-on, and it's not an additional thing to do, we're doing it anyway. Yeah. So let's do it well, let's notice them and do it well.
Do you know what's great is that this is recorded, so we can just send it to your leaders. Isn't that great, guys? So we always end our podcast with a mantra. So what mantra would you like to leave for our besties?
I wrote this down. It's probably not dissimilar to what I've just said. I'm going to read it out because I did write it down. Okay. So emotions are critical for everybody, every single person, and for everything you do in life. So getting to know your emotions better helps you live your life better.
Can we give Dr. Emma a big clap? Well done. Question time. Okay, we're going to start with you then.
Okay. Obviously, everyone is hugely different, but I know I'm really guilty sometimes during a really busy working week of saying I've not got time to look after myself. It's almost like that counting down to home time with the marking. Have you got any kind of things that you can pull out of a bag for depositing to your body budget?
First of all, I'll say you've not got time not to look after yourself. Because the cost of that is higher than looking after yourself. So, I mean, I think it's, one of the things I think is hugely beneficial if you've got lots going on is speaking it through with other people. So I would say, who contains your emotions? Who helps you look after your emotions? And sometimes just a quick chat with them, even if it's something, it doesn't have to be about what you're doing, but if you have got a problem, speaking it through can really help just take it out of your brain and think about what the next steps are. Or just sometimes saying to somebody, gosh, I'm really busy right now, I'm really stressed, just can help kind of regulate a bit. So who are your containers? Who do you go to that makes you feel emotionally better? And how can you use that, but in a helpful way? Because actually people also get huge benefit from helping people. So think about who your containers are and how you can use them in those busy times.
That's amazing, thank you.
So my question is more obviously early years, because that's just my jam. But with our youngest learners, like you've said before, sometimes emotions, they don't really know how to describe them or know what to do in those moments. And sometimes with us as early years, it can be not just one child at a time. Is there any suggestions that you could provide us to sort of encourage our children to just take that moment before we tap in? Because obviously sometimes they don't know how to take that moment, and sometimes us saying you just need some time is more of a trigger than a support. So is it like sort of anything that we can do to encourage?
So I'm going to do a couple of things. I know it's something that's done really well in schools now because my kids come home with it, but it's brilliant, is getting them to name in a fun way how they're feeling. That just helps them step back from their emotion and look at it as something external to them. And what we know, there's huge research evidence, because what are emotions? They're the labeling of how we feel. And if we can label how we feel better, I call it, I was going to try and find it here, but I'm not going to find it. I call it sieving your emotions. So it's a really nice technique. So you put the big emotion into a sieve, and then you have little emotions come out of it. So I've got angry in it, which is a big emotion. Then you can have confused, you can have, and you can do this quite practically as well. I used to do it with kids. I worked with kids for a long time. I used to do kind of sieving your emotions as a fun thing. Which emotions are coming out? And they draw the kind of emotions coming out, and they can pick the words coming from it. So you're telling me you feel angry, but is there any of these that actually, help? So that's quite a fun thing to do with kids, but obviously you have to be verbal to do that. But any ways you can increase the language of emotions. One of the most powerful things to help with emotions is being able to label them really well and label them in detail, or in fine details. It's a granulation of emotions. The better you're able to notice, label, the better you are able to deal with it. But then you can also have some really fun kind of physical things. Some lovely breathing exercise you can do with kids, or relaxation with little kids. I actually was thinking, I don't know if he's gone now, the person with that earphone, you can have brilliant exercise with that about pretending to be animals and relaxing your muscles or doing breathing. So some lovely exercises, which I'm sure many of you use, but that real physical things to help notice the emotions that are in your body as well.
I'm not going to lie, I'm seeing lots of displays. I'm like, the sieve your emotions, I see it. If you haven't seen it in Dr Emma's book, it really is, it's like a sieve, and then it's like all of the synonyms. But then I was like, imagine doing it with book characters. Every time you read an emotional literacy book, you'd be like, oh, is this anger, or is it something similar to anger? Oh, it'd be so amazing. The displays.
I'm just going to say something actually, which I should have probably told you beforehand. So I was involved in designing the world's biggest happiness lesson. So this is, it's got some of the kind of exercises around about. So I didn't fully design the lesson, I just provided just kind of advice around it. But I did the illustrations for it. So there's this lesson about increasing well-being has been done in Mexico, India. These kids have giant brown the brains on their walls with lots of these exercises. And most of it's available free online, but only for a short time, because the funding is about to stop for it. I'll send that through to you if anybody wants to. I'll send the link through to you, which you can share with people if they want to use some of that.
Sounds brilliant. I think we just had one more question from Jilly. Give us a wave, Jilly. There she is.
Thank you. Hi. You spoke about isolating children, and I've got several children in my class whose parents will isolate them at home when they get really angry, and the parents don't know what to do with their children. And I wonder what knock-on effects I will be seeing in school as a result of that. Almost punishment for having an emotion.
And I think it's quite a kind of classic thing to do. And if I'm honest, that I finished my training in the early 2000s, and it's what we were recommending as psychologists. So it's, it's not that unusual, I think, to use a timeout. But since then, the understanding of emotions has changed so much that I would not recommend. I remember being told to recommend it while I was in my training. I wouldn't recommend timeout unless the child chose to. That's different because they're choosing to take it. And I think it's a real behavioural response which comes from the 1960s, 1970s, which is what I was trained in. But now, it would be about helping the children to understand that response. Maybe not in the here and now, because they can't understand it in the here and now, but, later on. Now, I guess it depends what else is going on as well, because, nothing is used in isolation. Things are used in a context that are going on. I think you can't kind of isolate that. That in itself is, something awful that's going to kind of have an impact on a child. It depends on everything else that's going on. How are emotions spoken about in the house? How are they responded to? Are they punished generally? Or is it just, at that point, the parents are maybe getting time out? One of the best things I think you can do is reframe it as, I need to take some time out as a parent. Oh, sorry, touching your mic, sorry. So that's often how I'll talk to parents. Quite often you do need time out just to calm down and think about how to respond. So rather than it being a punishment for the child, let's say it's a technique for the parent we're modelling to help ourselves calm down to deal with emotions. So I'm going to take a bit of time out here. Obviously that's safe and all those things you need to take into account, but I'm going to take some time out as a parent to help me calm down so I know what to do. Yeah, absolutely, But I think, there are some lovely books about dealing with emotions now. Dr. Marta is a good friend of mine. I know Jen knows her as well. Her books around speak about that and talk about some lovely techniques. But what we can say is the general kind of knowledge about emotions is not caught up with the science about emotions. You know, writing this book was a bit of a bamboozle for me, because what I was taught about emotions is different to what we're taught now. So it can even be saying, look, there's a lot of recent research on emotions that has developed, and what we're seeing is that actually we shouldn't be punishing emotions, we should be helping children to tolerate and deal with them, and that's much more helpful in the long term. But it's such a common thing.
I love that though. It's such a great way to come at it, of like, we've all experienced something different. Every single one of us experienced something different growing up. There's recent research now, new to me too, but this is going to be helpful. Let's chat about it together. I think that's a great way to do it, because no parent wants to feel like they're doing something wrong or to be shamed in any way, and I think that's a nice, welcoming way to do it.
Absolutely.
Oh, thank you so much, Dr. Emma. It's such a joy. Can we give her another clap?
So I have been a Little Coach House rep for about 5 or 6 years now, and they're just a fantastic resource made entirely out of natural materials, wooden materials, for you to support your children at home or at school with their emotional well-being and sort of restoring themselves back to calm through just mindful activities. And my favorite resource from them is the breathing boards. There are so many. There's spirals, there's the infinity, there's rainbows, but it's all about encouraging your children to physically use their body to find their calm. My lot love the spiral one because for them it goes on for a long time, and we've got it in our calm corner, so you can have it in your calm corner, you can have it in your calm box. But they're fantastic resources for just bringing support to your children, to helping them find their calm. So we talked about encouraging our children to be able to do that independently, but this is a great resource for them to be able to do that as well. So I encourage it to have in your calm corners or your calm spaces as just a lovely natural resource for them to use, and it's quick and simple and easy, and it slows them down because they have to use the balls to move it around the boards, and I just love them, so I recommend them. And there's a couple of flyers with a QR code, and there is a cheeky discount for our TGMCers, so have an explore of the tools, have a feel of them, just feel how natural they are, and just how calming they are for you, and the impact that they'll have on your children as well.
It really echoes what we've spoken about in both of our chats as well, about giving children those skills, about preventative strategies, about what Dr. Emma was saying about actually helping them find their calm. And I love just what you said, Soph, that they're concrete. Before I knew you were a rep, I actually bought some, and I was like, what the hell? But like, I got some for Miles and stuff. I do really, really love them. And for those children who you're like, just breathe, and they're like, they need something physical, and that's how we support them with that. So they are really, honestly brilliant.